explain what HomesNOW is all about and what we're trying to do at this next site, at the Clean Green site, which is officially 1399 Woburn. So HomesNOW has been around for about 2.5 years. We have a colorful history. We currently operate Unity Village, located at 210 Mackenzie down in Fairhaven, and we've been there since about August. It's about 20 tiny homes. Just so you know about HomesNOW, our goal is to end homelessness one person at a time. We have no paid staff. We're an all volunteer-based organization. We don't take any taxpayer dollars, so nobody's tax money is being taken. We have about a 30% rehousing rate, so about 30% of the people that come through get into permanent housing. Yeah. We hope to do better, right? I mean that's just where we're at right now. Like over time, we're all about constant progress. So each of the tiny homes, by the way, has insulation and electrical. We have high standards, so our standards are that each unit has to be up to the spec of being like a normal bedroom in a house. Each tiny home costs about $4,000 to build, and the entire site, to operate the entire site with all utilities and everything, ends up being about $1,200 to $1,500 a month to operate, depending on whether it's the winter or the summer, because we have electric heating that takes up most of our utilities each month, but during the summer when there isn't heating, and the outhouses, yeah. So we have porta potties for like the bathrooms, but we do have running water. We have a utility pump system, so we don't have to. We used to use buckets, but then we came up with pumps, and it was like, man, why didn't we do this sooner? Like I felt dumb that we didn't do it sooner. In the future, we hope to set up more villages. I just want you guys to know too that I live within walking distance of where this site is going to be at. This is my neighborhood, and I would never want anything in this neighborhood to make the neighborhood worse. Now, some people might question whether their property values will be affected by something like this. Now, if you look at Zillow and you look at the property value rate at any location we've previously been hosted at, whether it's in Fairhaven, whether it's in the Sunnyland neighborhood, you can actually see that property values have gone up by 6 to 8%, like regardless. So like we have had no effect on property values if you look at it objectively. In fact, we make the neighborhood better, more secure. It provides housing. There's people that would be on the streets that are no longer on the streets. We have residents here tonight. Raise your hand if you are a resident of Unity Village.
Thanks for coming tonight.
And as far as like the effect on the overall neighborhood of what this has, when you're talking about a public safety perspective, I would invite Police Chief Dahl to explain that perspective, if you can.
I'm on now?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah, just what effect have we had on the places that we've been hosted at?
All right. Good evening. My name is David Dahl. I'm the police chief. I want to talk a little bit about the experience that we've had with this group, because I think that there are people that are here tonight that are very concerned about the neighborhood and the potential impact. And I will tell you that I shared that concern with you about a year ago. When, can everybody hear me?
No.
I need a microphone. I shared that concern times about 100 a year ago when HomesNOW started their very first encampment behind City Hall, which is right next door to where I work. And right downtown, where we have a lot of unsheltered people, a lot of problems. Right next to a trail system where we had encampments and a lot of problems. So I was not happy with this idea. But I decided that I wanted to be positive about it, and my planning directors here tonight as well, Rick Sepler and I worked very hard with HomesNOW to create rules so that we can help the success of the program. And we decided, okay, we'll do this and we'll see what happens. And I can tell you that around that area where they were for their first encampment, Winter Haven, the problems went away.
You mean the previously existing problems with folks that were unhoused in the neighborhood already?
We saw that there were not people that were on the trail systems doing encampments. We saw the area was cleaned up quite a bit. And that was the work of, I think, working with the people in camp, because they do police the neighborhood, they do observe what's happening around. It's a crime prevention model called CEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. There's natural surveillance there. That was behind City Hall. And after that experience, they were moved to my next location, which is where my people work at the dispatch center, 911 center. We put them in the parking lot of the dispatch center in the neighborhood. And we talked a little bit about what the concerns about the neighborhood about that, because people said, I'm gonna have a problem with crime going up, problems around the encampment, because we weren't necessarily concerned with what was happening in the encampment. There were rules they had to follow. It was outside the encampment we were concerned about. There was a park next to the 911 center that people were just freaking out about, because they thought that that would bring problems and crime into the area, because they were having some problems with that park. When Winter Haven became Safe Haven by the dispatch center, the area cleaned up. The problems in the park went away, and some of the most vocal anti-group became very supportive of the program. So then we moved to the next location, which is a little farther out, down in Fairhaven, where there isn't a lot of activity. Since they moved to Fairhaven since August, we've had 0 calls to the encampment. Now, mind you, there were some calls to the encampment behind the 911 center and calls by the city hall, and most of those calls were called in by the residents because of people coming by and harassing them or causing problems. But there were 0 calls down in Fairhaven. There was one big event that happened down there, and that was we arrested the person in charge of HomesNOW for embezzlement. And as you know, that was turned into us by the board of HomesNOW because they were concerned about what happened. And so what we find in terms of activity around the encampment is that it tends to improve. And we think that's because of the natural surveillance. The people that run the encampment want to be part of that neighborhood, and they own that area, and they take care of that area. So does that mean that there's no police there? No. We are engaged with this group very intensely. I personally go to the encampment once a week and meet with Doug and Marcus. Both Rick and I do that. Sometimes one of us can't do it, but we're there once a week to have a meeting with them, find out how things are going. That engagement's not going to end with the new location. I think it's very important that the city maintain the engagement there. To make sure that everything's running properly, to make sure there are no issues. Any 911 calls that happen or events that happen around there, I know about it, because I read our police reports every single morning. Like I said, in Fairhaven, there has been 0. So I think that they have done a very good job at following the rules. They have very strict rules, and they hold people accountable. If you don't follow the rules, you get kicked out of the encampment. Anybody who, hang on a second, I'll go in a second. Anybody who's a resident of this encampment gets vetted by the police department. And I personally review every candidate that comes in, and I look at what kind of contacts we have with them. And there have been some people that I've said no to, and they have agreed to abide by that recommendation by me. I say no to it because that individual may need housing, that individual might be a very complex person with needs that are beyond what they can give them there and might not make good for the community. So we have a strong relationship with them. We're going to maintain that relationship with them. I think it's very important that we do that. Did I answer the question? You think?
I think so.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm just gravely concerned about this whole ideology behind this, thinking that because you can't pick these people, that it's all gonna be just lovely. Take a look at the buildings on the far south side of Farrington Park. David, you've been in this town a long time. What did they do with all the little houses on Northwest? Where it was an epicenter for crime, drugs, prostitution. They tore them out. It was a bad idea. You're talking about a neighborhood I used to live in that is going to be greatly impacted because I saw in the morning the waves of school children having to walk past that. You're talking about right between two schools, not just parks, green belts. There's a lot of opportunity. It worries me.
Yeah, and I had that same worry when we began this process, but
David, when you're downtown, there aren't all the woods to hide in.
so think about how we've gone from like downtown, right next to the police department, and the 911 center, out to Fairhaven. I mean, the calls have actually decreased. I understand what you're saying, sir, I really, really do. I will tell you.
Zillow to try to compare what's gonna happen to property values. I think that's a joke.
I can't address that, but let me tell you about the fact that
Or do you want them to stay downtown? Do you want them to stay in the park downtown?
Someone
else has to go somewhere.
Hey, whoa, listen. Everybody, listen, okay?
We need to end the panhandling.
Hang on a second. Let's have a constructive conversation here, okay? Let's respect each other. Let's listen. I'm trying to address your concerns. Let me finish that, okay?
I'm
And
trained
hang on.
I'm trained in community facilitation.
Okay.
This meeting needs facilitation. May I take stack?
No.
No,
let's raise hands. Is that simple?
Let's just speak one at a time.
All I wanna do is recognize the people who have raised hands.
No.
And let people speak in the order, like, have some structure
That's a good idea.
of people taking
That's a
turns
good
to
idea.
speak.
So let me just finish by saying that the encampment is supervised by a non-resident board member, so there's somebody there 24 hours a day ensuring that proper behavior. People are held accountable for that proper behavior. So that activity that you saw in Northwest that you talked about is a little bit apples and oranges here. This is a controlled environment here. People are vetted, people have to follow rules, and if they don't follow rules, they cannot live there any longer.
Is there anyone from the city, is there anyone elected from the city here? Do we have anyone that here?
He's asking if there's an elected official in the city.
So this is an administrative, Rick Zeppler, I'm the planning director. This matter is a permit application. It's an administrative process that goes through my department. I'll talk up. So, my name is Rick Zeppler, I'm the planning director. I think I know many of you here. This is a application for a permit. The permit is pending, we are in the comment period. We ask that the applicants hold a meeting for the community. It's not required, but we ask. And we intend to talk about process questions. Yes. The city council nor the mayor do not decide on this permit. It's decided administratively. If I make an error in my decision on fact or law, my decision is appealable to the city's hearing examiner, a neutral fact finder. We have a comment period that goes through the 11th. You're welcome. So, quite frankly, folks, let me finish. You know, it's really rude to interrupt when we listen to you. You know, it's not gonna be productive if we do this. Folks, we're gonna stay till the questions are answered. I do need the courtesy of let me answer, make my statement, and we'll stay till the questions are answered. Okay?
Sounds good.
So, we have a comment period that's established by an ordinance that was adopted by the city council. We honor the processes, right? At this point, clearly a number of you have heard about this project. Clearly a number of you have expressed concerns. The record is open. We are in fact-finding mode. No decision has been rendered on this application, and we welcome comments. Each comment you make, dealing with substance, we don't answer them individually. We put them together. We need to respond to all of the concerns that are raised in our decision, one way or the other. That's how we come to conclusion on it. So I'm here tonight to talk about process and to listen to your concerns. If I have a factual matter I can correct, I absolutely will.
Could you facilitate this meeting?
So folks, I can do this meeting for you, I can facilitate it, but I will say I can't facilitate it and answer questions.
Does anybody in the room volunteer to be facilitator? Does anybody, feel?
But, we don't mind answering questions directly. We don't, so, if
And we certainly will answer all questions.
if anybody wants to ask us something directly, like, we're totally cool with that. So, who was first? What? Okay.
Are you facilitating or am I facilitating?
I don't know. I'm just saying we plan to answer questions directly. I mean,
Right, well, I think facilitating is different than what you're proposing. So, what I wanna do is I wanna take a balance. I think there's maybe about 20% of the people that are in the HomesNOW program, and about 80% who are residents. So I wanna take a balance, not just who holds their hand up first and the most, because what I see is a lot of people from HomesNOW. So I want to balance, but that's a fair thing. Do you agree, Mr. Sepler? Steve? Okay, so.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
My name is Karen Steen.
Okay, but just letting you know, this is our meeting. We plan to answer all the questions 100% directly. You kind of stepped up and said, I'm the mediator now. That's okay. That's totally cool. But like, continue.
Okay.
I'd like to see you try that. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Let's try.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take facilitation of this meeting.
Okay.
Whoever's meeting it is, okay. So I think we have a person back there. Are you a person in the neighborhood or in the HomesNOW? The lady with glasses, or the man with the glasses, I'm sorry.
Sorry, fella.
Yeah.
This woman was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else know the order of hand raising?
And you apparently you know everything.
You actually stated that you would not step up patrol around the field, around the trails, or in our area. You stated that at the last meeting, and these people need to hear that. You asked that, and you said, no, you are not stepping up patrol.
Because of the encampment going there?
Yes.
That's correct, because it's not necessary. Now, we are responsive. If something happens, then we will. But we have not stepped up patrols in any of the locations where the encampment has been, because it hasn't been necessary.
You have no school children waiting for their school bus.
I'd just like to add that we will add control, so. that's
Okay,
what we do.
okay, has your question been
With our
answered?
vetted-
Has your question
with our
been
vetted
answered?
residents.
Has yours been answered?
I just wanted
Okay.
these people to know that
Got
that
it.
was
I
stated
think,
last
I think
meeting.
second was you, and are you neighborhood or
Yeah, I'm in
HomesNOW?
the Puget neighborhood.
Okay.
I just wanted to speak in support of HomesNOW. I have a young daughter and one on the way, and I want to raise her in a way that shows that we take care of our neighbors and that we're a good community and that we can trust what the chief of police says. I have a friend who also has a young son who lives in Fairhaven, very close to Unity Village. And I personally noticed that before Unity Village moved in, there were some people, I know the cops got called on a guy who looked a little bit out of it. You know, I crossed the street because I was with my daughter to get away from them. I didn't see any of that stuff that you guys moved in. She had no concerns. I'd also like to say, so we live next to, I think they rented out to college students, but just because someone has a house doesn't mean that they're not a criminal. The cops called on them last week. I still don't know what happened. Supposedly someone was shot. That makes me much more scared than a group that's vetted, they have background checks, they're not allowed to do drugs or have alcohol, than the college students living next door who are shooting guns. So I would be very happy to have you guys in the neighborhood. I think it'd be a great example to kids.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're from the HomesNOW community? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were HomesNOW. Okay, go
Our
ahead.
mayor isn't here, but there's video of our mayor saying there's gonna be hearings, or a hearing. So is there gonna be a hearing or not?
So, may I respond? That's a process question, I think you hear it too. The mayor is a new mayor, and he erred by saying a public hearing was required. There is no public hearing required for this application. We have a comment period. We ask for the optional meeting. We consider all the comments that come in. But by code, there's not a public hearing required.
So I've got you one other quick question. Is this a done deal or not?
No, this is not a done deal.
Then why is there a brand new power pole, temporary power pole at the dump site? And there's some equipment in there, and I realize it's city property, but there's brand new gravel and everything being, it's all ready to get spread out.
So, because of the timelines, just like the applicant, the city took a risk. If it is approved, right, it would be ready to go because of the short timelines for moving on. What I also could say is on these, by the same ordinance, there's a finite end date. Very short duration in terms of the permitting process, but with good input. And there's an established end date. Several of you in this room were here arguing we should extend the location at Fairhaven. They said, why not just leave them there? And the reason is, when we make a commitment for a timeline, we stick to that commitment to the community. The maximum timeline is 2 years. They've asked for 2 years. We have yet to decide what the term will be of the permit. But at the end of 2 years, they are gone. Absolutely. And that's concrete from all the other locations, if that's the term that's approved.
Okay, sir, I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
I'm Marcus. Hi, I'm Marcus D. I'm Program Director for HomesNOW, Vice Chair, and I also sit on the Whatcom County Homeless Strategies Work Group as the homeless advocate for Whatcom County. I was put there in a 6-to-1 decision by the County Council. I also am one of the people who helped to lead the citizens outreach to save many people in the streets in the last fierce winter of, not this last winter, thank God it wasn't that bad, but we were there too. So it all started up that last winter, and we really got to know what the problem was in the streets. Did anybody remember that there was a huge citizens outreach? We spent 30 grand in 6 weeks. That's a lot of money to just dump at a need in the street. And the need is great. I can tell you that I sit on the Homeless Strategies Work Group, and I've been there since June. In an attempt, all of us are attempting to find enough shelter for our citizens who are relegated to living in the streets and in the encampments in the woods. We're trying to find emergency shelters when it gets cold enough that nobody should be out there. And I'm proud of our government for stepping up to this. I have an equal voice in that room.
I'm going to ask a question because we're taking questions.
I'm trying to explain who I am so I can help you answer questions.
I think 2-minute limits is reasonable. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcus, are you done?
Just about. I would like to echo that we do. We bring security to your neighborhood. We pick up the garbage that we find in your neighborhood. Our people are in a gated community, and they're just as protected from outside as you are from them inside. Believe me, we're all safe.
Okay, thank you. Okay, stacking. Sir back there with glasses, and then you. Then you.
My name is Mark. I live on Sweet Bay Drive. I'm within sight, essentially, of this site. My 10-year-old son waits for the school bus coming here, right up on Old Woburn, and will be walking by on his way to Colston tomorrow. I welcome you to the neighborhood. For our citizens, I hear a lot of people who are afraid, and you're not listening to what the chief of police, who's saying the data shows that this is safe. I understand you have fear. I want to say, I welcome you with open arms, and I'm a carpenter. If you need help putting up, we will. Thank
You and then the gal.
So I am a community member. I currently live in the Leonard Streets neighborhood. I just put an offer on a house on Oriental, so not exactly this neighborhood, but nearby. So in the Leonard Streets neighborhood, I am making a statement of support for Unity Village, and this is a community feedback forum, an open community feedback forum, and I'm here to let the city administrative officials and other community members know there are some important facts, I think. Having the amount of homeless people that we have in this city, homeless wandering the streets with nowhere to go, is a real life zombie apocalypse, which is bullshit. It makes me embarrassed and ashamed that our city parks are de facto homeless shelters. That is unacceptable. That is an imminent public health risk with things like the coronavirus sweeping across the world. Having unhoused people is dangerous for us all, and it degrades the quality of everybody's life. I want to see people in houses, and I personally say yes in my backyard. Yes in my backyard, because the only thing that's gonna make everybody safer is to have everybody in a house, and they have to go somewhere, and we have to start somewhere. And I think that you guys have done amazing work, and I support you, and I feel like I want you to be funded, and I want you to expand exponentially.
Thank you. The man with glasses. Okay, so we got a 4-stack.
Okay. I don't have a question. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to make a statement because I live in this community. I live on Sweet Bay Drive. I walk and I bus everywhere. And I see on our trails there's already problems. I have found broken liquor bottles. I have seen homeless encampments. I ran into someone who found a makeshift crack pipe in our creek. Like, it's already a problem. This is not adding to a problem. This is removing those kinds of problems that I see within 15, 20, 10, 5 minutes of my front door. I am okay. I support this. I want this help solved. I also have children who go to those bus stops, who will walk through this neighborhood. I don't let them walk alone because of my own parenting trust issues. It's nothing against you guys. It impacts the whole neighborhood. But I gotta say, as a parent, sorry?
We hope to make you feel safer.
As a parent, I cannot use my children as an excuse to not support this.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you speak up?
I have a question to the program as a whole. In terms of the 2-year commitment, how many people, what's a percentage? Give us a percentage of how many people transition from your program to a stable environment? And give us an idea of how many people migrate from camp to camp?
At about 30% of the housing rate is what we've had experience with. That's people who get into our program. It is a rehabilitative model, and so we have a small cadre of social workers, mental health professionals who are also volunteers and come in and help provide services, help people get their documents in order, get resumes in order, get their jobs, and people can stabilize for a little while and get their first last and deposit together just because they're that far below, because they fell that far below and they found themselves in the streets of Bellingham. About 30% are people who don't necessarily work out for our program, I'm afraid. And they end up going back to the services that are available. And as homeless advocate for Whatcom County, I can tell you the services that are available are still wanting greatly. And that's why we're here. This is a wonderful solution at about $1,200 a month to run a camp of about 20 people. That's a huge savings to everybody. And since it's all volunteer, and so no one here takes pay, this model is set up to do, we don't have to worry about people migrating to us, we're going to them. This model can go to Mount Vernon, this model
Has
can
your
go.
question been answered, ma'am? Has your question been answered? Ma'am?
I'm thinking.
Okay, sorry.
It was 30, 30, 30?
Roughly. We also train leaders here. We have people who have advanced and gone on to housing and jobs and have come back to volunteer with us, and that's really one of their hearts. And they're welcome when they come. Also,
May I offer, so, I'm not,
Okay,
social
okay, no,
worker.
you're not in the stack, you're not in the stack. Has your question
one of
been
the most
answered?
successful
Okay,
models in
Marcus,
town.
your question's been answered. Ma'am, back there with the child.
Yeah, I live on Wildflower Way, very close. I'd be a few minutes walk away from you all, and I welcome and I want to just give voice to the fact that we live in a region that has a housing crisis. People can't afford to live in homes. People don't get paid enough to keep up with paying rent. We're going to increase homelessness if we don't provide these options, and we will be in greater risk of
So, a couple questions for the city planning director. So, I saw the notice, and it indicated that this was going to be a determination of non-significance. Are these mitigation conditions going to be part of an MDNS, or is it just a DNS, or what's the city's anticipated decision there?
So, we published that we're gonna issue DNS.
DNS. So these are not going to be mitigated. These conditions are
Those
not going to be.
conditions
We
are-
have somebody translate the code.
All right, let me explain. When we have a permit come in, any action, any permit requires adherence with the State Environmental Policy Act, SEPA. SEPA reviews environmental factors. It doesn't approve a project or deny a project. It just says, are the existing suite of regulations adequate, or do we need to come up with additional rules to deal with the environmental impacts? After assessment, we believe the existing suite of regulations will cover the impacts associated with this project. The conditions that are in the notice, because the ordinance requires us to put out likely conditions we would use that would condition the permit. Everything you see there likely will be in the permit, and based on comments, there might be additional conditions should it be approved. Why we have a comment period is, no one knows the neighborhood as well as its residents. Other issues might be identified, and we might have to have additional conditions as part of the permit.
So I understand that there'll be permit conditions, but there will be no SEPA conditions.
Basically, you're living in an urban environment where we have a full suite of environmental regulations that deal with habitation, stormwater, critters, circulation, public safety, light, glare, and all of the other substantive areas. Those regulations apply. It's stated in the SEPA rules that if your existing regulations address it, you don't have to condition it again. They
Sure.
apply.
Sure. Okay. Then enforcement provisions on the permit, a consequence of a condition violation, is there a process for revocation of the permit built into the code then, or is it?
Yes, absolutely, and it will say, we have draft conditions that are proposed. We have lengthy, it's about 5 pages worth of
very
conditions. If you look at the current permit for the project that's in Fairhaven, or any of the prior ones, if there are certain conditions that are not remediable, meaning immediately we place people into alternative housing and we move forward, we've not even come close to that threshold. Our experience has been that there have been people who have been resident, who have not followed the rules. Those people are exited from the program immediately. We never see them in the neighborhoods.
Okay, so I guess, but that is distinguished from, that's enforcement of rules against the residents there versus the permittee.
And
So
the permitting
is
can
there
have,
gonna be?
there are measures that are in the prior permits and proposed that could extinguish the use.
Okay.
That could
Okay.
extinguish
So-
the use, and we have criteria spelled out when we would do it. If it's a public safety risk, if it's a public health risk, it's immediate extinguishment.
Okay.
Again, we did that because we have to err in the side of caution to protect not just the folks who are living in the facility, but in the neighborhood. And we have the tools to enforce immediately if adverse behaviors or impacts are identified.
And then my last question,
Sure.
and I don't know, you may not know this, is there a lease for this space?
Yes.
Or, there is?
There's a license agreement that we have provided for the prior uses. The
Okay.
license agreement is different because the city is also a landlord. The license agreement cannot be executed till the decision on this pending permit is rendered.
Is that license agreement available in the permit records?
You can
or-
go look at the draft license agreement for Fairhaven and the prior sites. It's likely to be a similar, if not identical document.
Okay, so, but that hasn't been produced for this yet?
Not yet, because we're at the point
Sure.
where we still have a comment period to close. We have to take, it usually takes us time to review all the comments.
I guess
will
I'm interested in the value or the lease
Sure.
rate.
There is no charge for that,
So has the gifting of public funds been addressed?
It's not a
then?
gifting of public funds because they're protected class, indigent. And we have RCWs that allow us to do this.
Okay. All right,
Okay,
those are my questions.
okay, stacking, you, sir, and then you, sir, and then you, and then you.
Okay, next. Nothing found,
Remember your order, yeah.
So I'm, okay. President, question for Mr. Supper, a process question. Yes, sir. You said
you follow timelines specifically and strategically to the point because you have to maintain those based on your rules and how the RCWs are written. Question on the fact that this was recently rezoned for multifamily, is that correct?
I don't believe so. I think there was an amendment to the municipal code because when we first promulgated the rules that deal with encampments or temporary encampments or tiny home villages, it excluded public zoning. We had long had concerns about operational issues in some of our public spaces, should they be proposed by other uses. Those concerns were extinguished, we amended it. I don't believe we've rezoned this property in my memory. I've been director for 6 years. I don't recall a rezone of that. I
So
will
it's
say
always been zoned multifamily?
it's zoned public right now, I think, and I think it's a public use. It's owned by the Parks Department. I should say one of the things that are relatively certain is about 2 years from now that Park Office building is going to get rebuilt, and we're going to need this site to do the laydown for that reconstruction. So we have a fairly concrete end date for city needs.
But the start date's already given.
The start date pending approval process, again, what I have to say is I've not heard arguments we haven't heard before. We're listening carefully. We need to respond to all the arguments. If an issue is identified that precludes the permit from being issued, they can't meet the criteria, we can't approve it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, it indicated when the encampment went to Fairhaven, that was gonna be the last time that the city provided. Why are we doing it again on city property? Has not anyone stood up that they were trying to demonstrate for it?
So,
is this gonna be a continuing thing from city to city to city, and it's just
So,
speech?
the prior administration under Mayor Kelly Ringgold indicated that that would be the last city-provided encampment. The city would continue in its administrative role to review the permits, assess public comment and make determinations. The incoming mayor, Mayor Fleetwood, had a different perspective. And he said that he wished to provide one additional site to HomesNOW for this use. The city looked at 22 different parcels it owns and considered them. This is the one that was most available, that met all the criteria. Some might say, why don't we have a public process to do that? Because there would be no site in Bellingham that can house this use if we did such. We've been through it before, looking for shelter space. As such, we were directed to assess it. We looked at 22 different parcels. This is the one that was available that provided the highest degree of security to residents in the encampment and the surrounding area with a minimal impact because it's buffered on where it's located from adjacent uses.
Okay, sir, and then you, and then over the man over there.
I was
I'm sorry, what? No, I had pointed at the man in the pink shirt, I think. I'm sure I did. We'll take you after the guy over there.
What is the timeline for notifying the neighborhoods when an application is submitted?
It's when we find a complete application, we publish notification. We also put it online. We send out notice to folks within a number of feet from property boundary, and we post the property. We honored that and sent it out. It's been fairly successful again. We've got a pretty good turnout. I will say that after the comment period ends, we still take comments. We take it right up to the point where we promulgate it. If issues are identified that we had not been aware of, we absolutely will consider it.
What's the radius of notification?
And I'm going to misspeak on this because I don't actually do the notification. Typically, it's 300 to 500 feet. It's pretty clear.
I mean, we live 2 blocks away, and we didn't get any notification whatsoever until a neighbor came by last night.
I'm glad you found out, but I would like to find out. We have a listing that's provided that lists all of the properties. Are you recent? You must have been there a while.
Oh, 9 years.
Yeah, I would say we'll look to see if it was mailed because they provide us with a listing of everything that was mailed. I'm
glad you found out about it.
I mean, being that close, you would think that everybody in that neighborhood should have been notified by letter way in advance. I mean, you're saying that the thing's
folks,
closing on the 11th?
applicants have rights too, and the process is defined. We've met the process. If there was an error and you were overlooked, we'll look at the master to see if you were included and something was mailed. It wasn't the intent not to provide information.
Mr. Seppler, isn't it the owners of the property that are notified? If you're a renter, you are not automatically notified. You're an owner.
I don't know, we'll review your address. If you wanna stop and see me after the meeting, I'll go take a look at the master list. If it was lost in the mail, I know it was mailed, I just don't know if you received it.
Okay,
You said me next. You said me next.
well, I didn't, but go ahead. And then you and Sir.
I just got this morning. I just got this morning. I've had Joan come by my house. I'm a homeowner. I've called the police. I live on the ravine. We have encampments out there. I've called 911 at 1:30 in the morning because a woman is screaming her head off. The police, I use a cell phone. And she goes, where are you at? I said, I'm at Lakeway and Old Woburn. She goes, oh, we know where you're at. Never heard another thing. Walking through the ravine.
Can you speak up?
Walking through the parkland. Walking through the park. There are camps all along there. I'm all for supporting the homeless situation. We see it downtown. We see it everywhere. I have been homeless in my life. But this process is just back-ass crazy. This is not, it's counterproductive because you're asking us after the fact to sit by your decision.
Is that a question?
I just
thought we were only
doesn't
taking
need to be
questions.
I just found out about this. So, it's why.
Okay, we have, the police chief wants to comment on what you're saying. Is that okay?
On the first part of what you had to say, and I'll tell this. I tell the community this all the time. If you call 911 and you don't see a response or you don't get a service, please call my office and let me know. I respond to those. Because I want to find out about the call and I'll look into that. If you see illegal encampments, you can call us about that. We have a line. You can go online and fill out a form on that as well. And we will go look at that.
I can get that information to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I would ask you to call the office or to go onto that online form. We're responsive to that. We clean
And
up
so are we,
camps.
by the way, with good humane responses to concern.
Apparently not.
Okay,
We
okay.
certainly will.
Okay, Marcus, if you don't mind, I'm gonna wait until people, before I call on somebody a second time, I'm gonna give everybody a first chance.
Sure.
Is that okay?
I'm also part of the answering here, so.
Okay, well, if you feel like you've got part of an answer that will be.
Well, sure, I mean, I'd like to speak actually to, when we were talking about, the fact that that was our last incarnation on a city property. This is a city problem. When we see it in the bushes, when we see needles, when we see feces, when we see garbage.
People dying
People
this
dying
winter?
In our streets and in our residential neighborhoods. This is something that we're all trying to address. And HomesNOW doesn't just do a tiny home village. Our outreach is actually very, very large. We go into the streets and we do it at all levels. We bring gear to people who need it. Because there are people out there who are desperately needing it. So it is a city problem. We're glad to partner with the city. We're so fortunate that they're working with us, and we invite you to work with us too. Should there be an encampment in your neighborhood and in the other neighborhood, as long as it's representative, as long as it's a representative of the population that is in our town, we should try to shelter those people who are actually in our camp right now over 60% lifelong Watson residents.
Okay, Marcus, if you want to get the questions and the concerns of your host community.
Anything you guys want.
Okay, sir, and then you, and then the man who's had his hands up, and then, God, there was somebody else, no, Morton was down here. Okay, let's just, I know, him, and then the man in the back with the vest.
I first became aware of the HomesNOW organization earlier this week when I received a letter in the mail.
Can you speak up, please?
About this meeting.
Speak up.
Just wondering if there are there any minimum employment requirements of the residents in the community?
I can feel that question. No, there's not any like minimum
Are there
like.
any minimum employment requirements of the residents in the community, in the HomesNOW community?
No, there's not any minimum employment requirements. I mean, some of our residents are on disability. Some have medical conditions. Some do have full-time jobs. Some have part-time work. There's not anything specifically that says that you have to be like employed at a 40-hour-a-week job in order to like have residence where we're at. So we don't actually have that requirement as a prerequisite for having housing.
So more we prefer people to have a plan to get to that point, and that's the idea.
And so the income stream comes from a volunteer donation basis?
Mostly.
Yeah, we don't have any paid staff at all, and so it comes through random donations, but at the same time, residents pay utilities monthly to make the site self-sufficient. So like even if we didn't get any donations at all, we'd be able to maintain operations in a stable way because the residents themselves contribute to the utilities.
Is there a way we could see your books or?
Yes, on our website we publish monthly financial reports. So if you go to homesnow.org/financial, you can see all of our financial information in a transparent way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi there. My name is John Noble. You'll have to bear with me. I'm an introvert. I'm here just because I care. So I have 2 kids. We live on Wildflower. It's nice to see a bunch of faces here that I've seen walking around. Neighbors. So my kids go out in the woods all the time, playing, romping around in the green belts, off the trails, on the trails. I have come across encampments, like the gentleman back here, and if my kids ran into those.
Could you speak up? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I've run into encampments in the woods in the green belts, and if my kids had run into those kind of as they're out there playing, it could be dangerous. There's broken glass, sharps, trash.
People who are not vetted by the police. You know, there's scary people out there.
You gotta bear with me. I'm not taking sides. This is not red and blue. This is my kids.
Yep.
So I hear you when you say you make things better. So far, my experience with people who are struggling on that social economic end of the spectrum hasn't been the best. So I guess my question first for the HomesNOW and the residents would be how do you guys make it better from that perspective of the safety of the community, the safety of just trash around.
I'd just like to say,
and like where's the accountability for making it better?
I'd just like to say briefly that you spoke of the struggle. When you come in and you put your stuff down in your locked unit, heated, you're safe, your place, and you walk through in a gated community, and that going into the gate is your living room. The struggle is over at that moment for those people. Their self-esteem goes through the roof. It's an amazing transformation to watch. It blew my mind. It blows my mind every time I watch it. And we've exceeded our own expectations. I believe in many ways we've exceeded the city's expectations. We want to exceed your expectations as well.
And I'd like to add another part to this is we also have 1080p 60 hertz security cameras. So like if there's anything going on in the neighborhood, we're going to catch it because there's literally going to be video footage of wherever we're around. Like sure we can't monitor like every part of the neighborhood, but at least the part where we're at. We can monitor it a lot more than what's being monitored right now, and if there's something sketch, we'll be able to contact the proper authorities as needed. And so that's another way that we would make the local area better.
Our residents immediately demand a certain amount of security for themselves. They wanna see that. They don't want the street coming in. They just left it behind.
Well, the host community isn't a gated community, though. I'd just like to point that out. I really appreciate
No,
your sense.
I hear that.
Really appreciate the sense of safety, and yet the host community isn't gated.
It's fenced.
Okay.
So
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Follow-up questions. I was really hoping that somebody from the city was going to be here. Like my other question was directed both at the city.
He's right there.
They're right there.
City employees. Okay, sure.
Can
Maybe
you make
answer.
it within a minute?
Sure. I was just wondering if the city and the new neighbors, if there was an interest in building a playground nearby. Like I think a lot of neighborhoods have a playground, and we don't.
That sounds like a great thing. We
Yeah.
participate on any community efforts.
So the city has a recently revised and adopted Parks and Open Space Plan. The city has adopted a Parks and Open Space Plan. She just left. In that plan, we talk about how we provide our neighborhood facilities. I'd ask you to look at that. I'm not aware right now what's to be provided, but we provide them throughout the city, and nothing is to stop community members from coming forward with ideas.
Okay. And then one other question for you. The
Speak
permit,
up.
the permit that I read did not seem to say anything about a next location and a perimeter around the existing location where the next location could be, which means that it could move 100 yards in one direction.
So it's been our practice to disperse the locations throughout the city, so one neighborhood is not does not become the host neighborhood for all of the use. You know, it's a challenge for us as a city because nothing is as permanent in land use as temporary, and we need to honor our commitment to neighborhoods. When we say the permit ends, it ends, and we move them on to some other location. In the ordinance, it says you can't use this location again for 6 months or more. And we have no intention, because we'll be using that location to support the reconstruction of Parks Ops within 2 years. So it won't be reestablished there, and we don't put it on parkland generally, because parkland is programmed for park uses. We did evaluate all of our facilities and looked at what was available.
Thank you, sir. And then you, and then then me. If I could get a comment in here, and then I'm not sure if we're limited to 6 or 7 o'clock. Are we?
They said we could stay as long as we want, so we want to make sure we answer every single question that people.
And
Okay,
she
excellent.
has had her hand up since the beginning.
She's one of the people.
Residents.
A resident. Do you have a question? Do you have a question?
No, I have a comment.
Okay.
These are people's grandmas. You guys should really hear from them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
My name's Tina, I'm a resident, and for you people that are concerned, I want you to know that we go through those woods, we go around your neighborhoods, we pick up your trash, and we make sure that there is no things for your children. I have 10 grandchildren. My children used to come here. I have 3 grandchildren that come here. I didn't choose to be homeless. But you people are not better than me because you have a roof over your heads. I'm telling you right now, I am just as good of a person as you are. And I will take care of your children. I would protect your children with my life because that's who I am. So just know that we will, all of us, we sit and we watch the neighborhood. We go outside and we walk 3-4 blocks around your neighborhood. We pick up your garbage because we care, because that's our neighborhood too. That's it. Thank you.
That's a comment.
No. Sir? Or was it you? I'm sorry. And then you, sir, and then me, and then Karen. And then what? Oh, Steve, I'm sorry. Okay, and then you. Okay.
My name is Jonathan. I live on Wildflower.
Everybody lives on Wildflower.
Yeah.
We've been there for 6 years. I have 5 kids. I have 4-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and we play all up and down the neighborhood. I know many of you many of my neighbors. I have a coworker where I work who helps volunteer with HomesNOW, and most of the information I've gotten has just been through her experience, and I've been just really excited. I've been part of ministries, I've been part of homeless ministries, I've been part of a lot of different things that haven't helped, and actually I think it's our responsibility to our fellow people to
Thank you.
provide a place that's safe and that can show that we have compassion and that people who are legitimately in need of help, that we're not scared of them. And I mean, that's the kind of place I want my kids to be a part of it. So I don't intend to walk around that space if this is permitted. I want to make this an example. Like, this is how we help people. We could go volunteer there. We could go help people who need some help, and then they in turn can turn around and help other people. And I mean, I've been in many places in my life where I can help too. And so I'm in super support of having you guys here. I think it'd be a great thing. I think it's a great testament to what community should be and could be.
Thank you.
You can be one crisis away from being homeless. I was homeless in Seattle in a tent because my son had just a medical condition. He still has it. Every day I wake up feeling I'm going to be homeless again. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been successful. I've been a homeowner. It can happen to any one of you at any time. And with the housing the way it is, not affordable, with the wages as low as they are, we have to come together. I invite all of you, come down and meet these people. They're people like me, like you.
Okay, sir?
My name is Dean White. I live in the neighborhood. My wife and I, we're within walking distance as well. I live on Toledo Street. I can walk that far. So I retired quite some time ago, but it hasn't worked out. I continue to do things. I've been working with for a while with the emergency shelter that the faith community was supporting for a number of years, the homeless shelter. Doing some work now with the youth and Northwestern Services. I have great support for this program. I am not fearful of what will be happening. I think it's important to remember that at last count there were maybe 800 people in the one-time count of homeless folks in this community. This is not a total solution for all of those problems. This is one small part of it. There are many things that we in this community need to do. And there are many things that the city and the county and others are doing to try to deal with this issue. This is one of the most creative and effective programs that we got going on. And so I would just really hope that all of us would try to come together and support this and let them have their opportunity in our neighborhood as the next place for this to happen. I'm personally willing to spend time looking at, are there ways we can help you improve the site? Put some hedges around or whatever.
All input. Thank you so much for your endorsement.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this spot. None of us created this problem. Amen. Those of you without fixed homes, permanent homes, those of us who have worked all our lives and paid taxes and are faced with this problem. We know it, Marcus. We don't have to be told about it. I pass by it numerous times every day. None of us created this problem. People much more wealthy and powerful than us created this problem. And whereas this is kind of a combination of mercy services, largely provided by the city's taxpayers, and a combination of somewhat of a solution, it's kind of, to me, I see it as a combination of mercy services and solutions.
I'd like to correct you on that.
No, wait.
Yeah, no, you made an inaccurate statement, though.
I want to make.
No taxpayers.
No.
No taxpayer dollars. None.
We don't take
Taxpayers provide the infrastructure of the city.
Right.
Okay. Yes. Police department. Utilities. Okay. underground
pay
infrastructure.
utilities.
Yeah, but the taxpayers are supporting the infrastructure of the city, the planning department, the police department. That's a reality.
Same infrastructure that takes care of people in the streets, and we make a safer place for them to work.
I paid taxes before.
I'm not arguing. What I'm saying is none of us created the problem. No, wait a minute. I'll be done. Then I
You wanted to make one comment, and I
will be done as facilitator. Yeah, I'm out of the facilitator role. Okay, thank you. None of us created it. This is somewhat of a combination of Mercy Services and Solutions. The solution is housing policy. Housing policy, folks. Bellingham has to call it for what it is. We have to limit the number of rental homes owned by any single owner, whether it's Hammer Properties or whether it's somebody, a private owner. We have to ask that WWU make houses. Excuse me, no, you're being rude. You're being rude. Everybody else has had their 2 minutes.
Hey, she's a volunteer facilitator, and this is a community
Yeah.
meeting.
We need housing policy, everything. Yeah, we need to make her stop interrupting you. Okay, so we need housing policy. That is the permanent solution for all of us. So instead of getting divided and feeling all of these issues, we need to both address the temporary solutions and start telling the city we need housing policies.
Okay, Karen?
Yeah. Steve was next. Steve was next, and then I was done. Well, I had called on him, and I'm done.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve James. I live in the Puget neighborhood, and for full disclosure, I'm on the Puget neighborhood board as a board member. I'm also on the Mayor's Neighborhood Advisory Council for the Puget neighborhood. I'm speaking to you tonight as a neighbor, not as one of the board member or member of the council. I'll have a question, and I also have something directed that might be directed to Rick. But first of all, I say I'm not going to be fear-driven, and that's what I hear. I'm not going to be fear-driven. I'd like to be driven by facts, and right now the facts say that tiny homes do not create problems in neighborhoods. They tend to abate them. And so I'm willing to go with that until the facts prove otherwise. And I've been told there are ways to solve that if it doesn't do that. The question for Rick is or maybe for tiny homes, what about our community garden down there? Is that going to be part of the project, or is that going to be coordinated with part of the project? I'm going to say one more thing, then you can answer the question. Let me just talk, and then we'll go, because it tends to get out of hand. So I'm concerned about our community garden. I'm sure one of you can answer that question. To my neighbors who have been expressing concerns about the process, I'm not going to either argue with you or against you, but don't blame tiny homes because the city process is screwed up. I, as a board member and also as an NMAC, have been going to a lot of hearings lately, starting with City View, that the same thing happened there. City View is 400 and some odd student housing that we place right in the middle of the residential neighborhoods in future neighborhood if the permits are approved. We got only a few people got notice of it. It wasn't until citizens rose up and spoke that notification. That's the process. But don't blame these people who are following the rules as best they can. If you have a problem, take it to this guy. And then nobody said this tonight, but I'm going to say it. Thank you for being here, because this is what our neighborhoods are about. They're about expressing our concerns, our differences, our fears, and our hopes. But thank you for coming out. It's easy to stay home and watch, MSNBC or Fox or something, and just be angry and yell.
We're all tired of coronavirus.
But this is how it works, and this is where it starts. And none of us are going to get everything that we want. We never do. I learned that a long time ago. My mama taught me. I'm not going to get everything that I want. But at least my voice was heard. And that's all I think any of us are looking for. We just want to be heard today. We have fears, we have concerns that are being addressed. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for letting me talk. And tell me about the garden.
I'm going to take a moment to talk about process. Folks, it's interesting. The permits we issue for your building permits, your decks, they're never fast enough. But if there's a project you have concerns about, well, we need to take our time and extend it. We agree as a community we adopt our rules. And Steve, I'm afraid I disagree with you. We strictly enforce our rules. They try to balance the private property rights of an applicant with the community's needs to be notified. We try to weigh those things together as fairly as we can. We don't make the rules.
Oh, I don't.
City council does, but I will tell you, we strictly enforce them as fairly as we can. And we try to be as successful as we can. As to the garden, it's really important for the garden to continue. The Parks Director reserved one plot for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What I will say is the location on the site won't change, but within that fenced area that you saw on the site plan, there might be some changes. We want to make sure the cooking tent isn't next to the community garden, just for odors or smells, things like that. We're going to do some fine tuning. Again, I also want to make sure you understand that the most folks we've seen in HomesNOW project, I think, was 22 at one time. Currently, you're at
18.
18 people. When you go down to the Fairhaven site, and I encourage you to go down and come to your own conclusions, it's pretty quiet because people are either out getting services or working. It's not a disruptive area. We have rules that are far beyond the rules we place on your single-family homes in the area. We restrict music outside and outside activity. We restrict outside burning. We restrict congregation. We deal with enforcement of cleanliness and other things. These are the things where we try to say, with these rules, do we have a high confidence interval we can protect the community? That's what we're here to hear from you tonight. If you raise an issue, we have to say, can we find a measure that provides a high confidence that we can protect the community as well as the residents?
You wanted to say something?
So I was gonna say, just to answer a question about Zillow and the property values, but I don't think we're ever gonna have to worry about our prices going down. That's why we have homelessness, is because how expensive it is to live here. And we have a house in the Puget neighborhood off Lakeway on St. Paul, and we're hanging on to that property because we know it's going up, and
it's
if
like
we were to
doubled in
sell it,
value
we
in
wouldn't
like
be
10
able
years.
to find a place. But it's one of our issues with gentrification is people moving in from the outside.
Yeah, what's up? Oh yeah, so we're next. Yeah, but
My name's Tony, I'm a homeowner. I probably have the nicest view to the new facility. I live on Old Lakeway Drive. My property butts up against Lakeway, and right across the street is where you guys live. You look out any of my windows, and this is what I'm going to be seeing for the next couple of years. For me, it's about education. Okay, I didn't hear anything about this until just a few days ago, receiving a letter in the mail. Now, had I had more information and education on this, which I think is key to a lot of this, that would have been helpful in easing some of the tension in the minds, I think, of a lot of us, as well as with the facts like you're bringing up. All that stuff is very important to help us feel more at ease as a community. And I greatly appreciate, like you, everybody bringing in their positive, negative, all the views that we have here. I think that's important for a community to be strong. And I don't know many faces in here, and I'm getting to my question. The one question that I have is that there's going to be a lot of new faces patrolling my neighborhood now that I don't know. How do I determine, or how do I decipher who you are from Home Safe versus? I don't know. You know, I see a lot of people going by on a regular basis, and a lot of people. There used to be a drug house next door where we would see a lot of people cruise through there, and I don't know the difference. And I'm not judging anybody.
Thank you.
But if I don't know you and you're walking through my neighborhood, which is a private road, I have a right.
All you said is we're bringing people who are.
Is that your question?
So my question is, how do I know if there's somebody that's just kind of roaming around without a place to
You
go?
already have those people.
I need to say something on that, sir.
Let him answer his question.
That's my question.
Do you want to answer the
My question, I'll answer that question. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm the mayor of Tiny Homes. Okay? I am the big mouth. I am the one that makes these guys do what the hell they're told to do. Okay? I do not miss anything. You can ask these two people. Three, actually. I don't miss anything. I know so many of you in this room. You have no idea how many of you I know. And it makes me just feel wonderful. Because guess what, guys? I'm homeless. What does that mean? I'm without a home. Oh well, guess what? I have a home now. So I'm here with these beautiful people that have given me a chance. They've given me a chance to do something different in my life. They've given me a chance to get back up off the ground and find out what life's really about. Because my disability put me down. I have fibromyalgia. But do you think that stops me from helping and going out and doing outreach to make sure that our people aren't dying on the street? And I am one of them. I'm the one that stays up until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure your backyard is safe. I'm up all night, buddy. I love you. No, but you know what? I thanked you. I thanked you personally as you were speaking, because you did my heart better than anyone else has in this room. Because you cannot recognize me.
Amen.
You don't look at me as a homeless, filthy, dirty piece of shit.
That's correct.
So God bless you.
Why should we differentiate?
I am no different than any of you, just as my friend Tina that was here. We have many in our group that have mental issues, addictions, but they are all working on them extremely hard. They all go to meetings. They all do the steps that they're supposed to do. And I take pride on that. There's no needles. There's no drugs. There's no alcohol. There's none of that on my property. There isn't even a cigarette butt on my property.
The backslide, though, we talked about that earlier.
What are we backsliding on?
About 30% of people don't.
30%. I take great pride in that.
Could we answer his question? Sir, if I might, I believe you guys wear vests, don't you?
Absolutely we do.
That's how you would know them. They wear vests that identify them as security.
Also, one last thing I wanted to say on that same question is just very quick, I'm going to take like 10 seconds. The other way that you get to know us is if you come down and talk with us and get to know us. You'll get to know us as individuals, so when you see someone walking up the street, you'll know which one of us it is because you'll have had a good conversation with them as an individual. That's it. No, that's all I had to say. You wanted to say something.
And my answer to that question, though, also is that if there's somebody that you don't recognize, would you rather that the chances are it's somebody who's been vetted by the police department and belongs in the neighborhood, or somebody that you're already seeing in your street? We're trying to alleviate that problem.
Or across the street, come have dinner.
Chief Donald, his question was, how does he know whether the person he's seeing walking down the street who may be doing things that you find inappropriate?
Right, so
Is not a member, and what should he do when he sees somebody?
Yeah, first of all, I hope everybody heard that in regards to HomesNOW, when they have their patrols out, they wear identifiable vests.
Yes.
Okay, so you know that's who they are. Now, the nice thing about talking to a neighborhood is that you know who belongs in the neighborhood. Sometimes you'll feel a bit weird about that. But if you see activity in the neighborhood that doesn't seem right, call 911. Okay, we're out there 24 hours a day. It may be a few before we get there, but we can at least come and check it out. Don't be afraid to call us if you see something suspicious. All right?
Okay, got a couple questions over here. You want to go first?
My name's Virginia Herrick, and I live nearby, but not in Puget. I'm over in Sandwich Hill, but my husband and I are looking for a new house, and we may move into your neighborhood. So I am very interested in what I hear about Unity Village. Sounds like you guys do a great job. I think one of the questions I keep hearing from people on Nextdoor, and I've heard it here tonight, is when somebody falls off the wagon or whatever and has to leave Tiny Homes Village, where do they go? What's the process for their leaving? Is there some kind of case management or something to, so that they're not just gonna go down the street?
So, John, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I'll answer that. So it depends on the individual. Everybody has their own situation. So what we try to do, and we've done all of the above, but we try to get, not just try to say, hey, you're gone and good riddance. We try to say hey, there was a rule violation, you have to go, but hey, maybe we can get you in a hotel for a week and then get you linked up to somewhere else. Or if it's a different situation, maybe they have somewhere to stay and we support them in that. So sometimes too, typically in our rules, it says that in 24 hours you have to get all your stuff out. Sometimes we'll give them a week or two to get all their stuff out. We try to make it as orderly as possible, and honestly, it just depends on the person. Each individual has their own reasons and different provisions needed to make sure it works out. But we don't just like kick them out and throw them down and then be like, good luck, you know. So we try to keep track. And
So you and then you. Yeah.
My name is Sarah Love. I've lived in the neighborhood since 1971. I grew up here. I had some concerns when I saw it on Nextdoor. I'll be honest about that. And like I said on there, I had to really face those fears and hidden prejudices. And you guys have answered a lot of those questions. I was really concerned about sanitation requirements. And it seems like you've met all those. There's a good setback from the road. Everybody has a work plan. I think a mistaken perception I had at first, and I think a lot of us had, was that we're equating this with the homeless camps we're seeing in the woods.
Yeah.
And now my question is, if I've altered my walking habits being alone in the morning because I've run across more and more of the encampments, do you guys ever partner up, since you may know some of these residents, so that we have somebody to walk with that can kind of smooth it over, so we're
We'd be-
not just being rude and scared?
We'd
and
certainly be
running?
glad to do that, and that, we encourage exactly that kind of interaction in our community. People can give rides to some of our people and get to know them, you know. You just come down and meet us, bake some cookies, we all love cookies. And, no, really, get to know us. You will find that this is maybe the finest, the finest example of community within a community that maybe many of us have seen in decades. I know I came here in the mid-'80s, and I remember community on a level that I was surprised to find was born in an encampment. And when I hear uproarious laughter coming out of the dining tent, and people don't lock their doors because, just like you don't lock your doors sometimes, we're home. And I'm really proud to have been part of an advocacy that has helped to really guide the conversation in Bellingham from if you're homeless, get out, to a conversation of welcome home. And as soon as we all as a community, as soon as we embrace that as a point of civic pride, when that happens, we actually have a solution in our eyes. And I hope you can all see that and feel that, because I feel it. This thing, we're not worried about people coming here. We'll be going there. This can be a national effort, and we can actually greatly impact homelessness.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Take any 20 people you see out on the street out in front of the drop-in center and pull them off.
Yeah, right here.
So, I'm Jenny, I live on Wildflower, and I guess maybe I missed the part or something, or maybe I'm not educated, but, I was wondering, I've been hearing a lot about people being on, patrolling or checking around, from the HomesNOW program. I was just wondering what that entails or why it's happening.
Yeah, it entails wearing a vest, and it's kind of almost like a security vest, and then that way it's obvious who's out there and what they're doing, and we just go around outside of our gate around the surrounding neighborhood and pick up trash and stuff. And so that's all.
Just a little safety patrol. Walk a dog. We have dogs and cats around.
What are the hours of that? Are there hours to that? Is it
scheduled, or is it
the schedule we were last really observing was somewhere along the lines of, I think, every 4 hours. In Fairhaven, the impact down there's very little activity there, and so we all monitor the cameras together. The residents are also monitoring the same cameras that we do. Everybody takes a real interest in security here.
Question here?
Did
you have more questions?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really, I just was wondering, because you said the cameras, but I was kind of wondering, would there be any way to, let us all know when those times are?
That could be well known. We might have a schedule on our website or something similar, so if you want to know that, we can get in touch and maybe we could come up with something regular to just post online or whatever on our website.
So you raised my curiosity. I've heard 2 residents now mention they have adult children in the area. Why are they not welcome in their homes?
That two of you guys have adult children in the area. Why are you guys not welcome in their homes?
I'll gladly address that one. I'll gladly address that one.
I have 4 children. I've lived here my whole life. I have my own business. I have gone through really hard times, went through a divorce. I can't live with my children because 3 of them are on housing. And when you're on housing, as well as when you're on this kind of housing, if you move in with them, they lose their housing and so do you.
Yep.
And so that puts you in a really bad perspective when you want to be staying together as a family and you can't. Because even in this situation, I've had a man attacking me for the last 3 days telling me that why is it that we can have couples in such a small space? We don't, guys. We have individual units. Only 1 person per unit. They're 5 by 15, guys. That ain't very big. That's not a whole lot of space.
It's more like 8 by 15.
Oh, 8. You're right. 8 by 15. I stand corrected.
So I'm gonna do a quick time check in 7:25.
And we can stay as long as
All
we need.
night if you want.
So,
Thank you.
Is that what you wanted
Our
answered?
custodian's here till 8:30.
all right, so.
Did I answer what you wanted?
From here,
Thank you.
anybody who wants to leave,
How many people are on your waiting list?
We have about 356 people that are on our wait list that want to live at Unity Village. Now, we don't necessarily go with first come, first served. We kind of go for, we have a list of 350 people. Let's go through it. Who's going to be the best for this community? Some people don't do well in a community setting. Some do. And we try to find who would be the best fit to where we can help them find housing the fastest and that they get along with their 20 other roommates, so to speak.
And we're glad to have the registry of people who do not necessarily qualify for our services too, because that allows us to do further outreach, because we do not preclude any other outreach too. That's what we do.
We have
try
an
to solve
electronic.
problems.
Marcus, you got a couple of copies.
Okay,
Sure.
so my name is Claudia, and I have worked with social services for about 2 years, private housing.
I can't hear you.
My name is Claudia, and I've worked in social services for about 6 years and also private housing. And I cannot tell you how many people I've come across who have become homeless, who had no idea that that would ever happen in their lives. There are we are all at risk of becoming homeless based on external factors, or you never know. So the reason I ask that question is because they are able to pick who will fit into the community, and they want to have and I also am helping out with connecting people with resources in recent weeks, a couple months. But they are able to choose who will really work out in the community, and they want it to be a very positive, happy environment, and they want to be part of the community that they are in. So just keep that in mind. It's not like it's first come, first served. They have many people that they can choose from, and they want to keep it a certain environment where the residents are very happy and they don't have a lot of issues.
You had a question or a comment?
Both actually. I'll start with the comment and with the question for y'all. Okay, my name is Stacy Block. I've been a Bellingham resident for 33 years. I have owned a home 2 blocks from the Mission for 32 years. Okay, the Mission has been a great neighbor. Now, what you guys are afraid of is something like the drop-in center. Okay, I can see that from my bedroom. I hear it at 7 in the morning when they take these poor people, throw them right back out on the street where their addictions are, where they get preyed upon, where all the things that keep them homeless are. Shelters are a Band-Aid. They don't solve the problem. This model is effective. It's inexpensive. Sure, you might get some land from the city, but these guys don't get any taxpayer money. They do a lot. I tell you, I've got a lot of experience with both of these models, and there's just a huge difference. They've been very transparent through all of this. You can see their budget with their scandal. They've come through that. They're better now than they used to be. There's no dark conspiracy going on here with the city and stuff. Heck, sure, finding out about the meeting, a bunch of you guys didn't find out till the last minute. Some of you might have even heard seen a flyer that went around that was full of a lot of misinformation and a lot of intolerance. I don't tolerate intolerance myself. But really,
Just wrap it up.
okay, I've known about this thing for several weeks, okay? This gives people doors that lock. A homeless person told me once, that's a big difference. You have a door that locks. There's no way for these folks to heal or to stabilize without that. And if you don't like what you see on the trails and the parks of downtown, this is the solution. What we're doing everywhere else isn't. We're all part of this community. It's great we're here. We can all talk about this. But these people deserve a chance, and giving it to them actually frees up Chief Dahl and law enforcement to deal with this stuff you see in your ravine and these evils and all that. So I see hope at Unity Village. I don't see a lot of hope at the drop-in center. Think about what Jesus said about how we treat those who are the lowest members of our society, and I fully support this group. My question to you all is, have you gone to a city council meeting? You can find out about this stuff. Have you gone to Unity Village and seen it yourself? I suggest you do. I'm done. Thank you.
Anybody back here have a question? Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, what's the visitor policy and how long are visitors allowed to stay?
Are you talking about visitor like of a resident or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually, what is the exact number? You know?
I think we're looking at 4 hours is what I think we're looking at.
How, you know how long a visitor is allowed to stay of like your?
Oh,
you or-
someone staying on our property, I allow people to have visitors for up to 4 hours a day, and you cannot be you can't come in before 8 a.m., and you have to be out by 9 p.m.
But if you have family up from
But
out
if
of
you
town,
have- yeah,
you can extend
exactly.
it to 6 a.m. or whatever.
On a
but-
case-by-case basis.
Yes.
But there's no overnight visitors.
No.
Okay, did you get your question answered?
Yep.
All right, you got a question?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple things. First of all, I'm looking at the letter that, I'm Larry, and I live in Sweet Bay Court. I've been there for over 25 years. I'm one of the original residents there. You say one person per house, but it says there's gonna be 20 tiny houses accommodating 28 overnight guests.
Yeah,
How does
yeah.
that work out?
Okay,
Is
so
that the new math?
the reasoning for that is that we do allow for double occupancy. So if you had like a couple, for example, that wanted to stay in one unit, they'd be allowed to. Our experience has indicated that in general that doesn't happen. Sometimes it does, but like generally that space is a little too small for 2 people. So it ends up being like 1 person per unit. But the our agreement allows for more people if they were double occupancy.
It's not to exceed 28.
Like the facts to be facts. When people are saying things.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for that.
Different.
I noted that too.
That's nonsense.
Does that take?
Yeah.
No, I have a few things.
Okay.
First of all, the nonsense of the whole Zillow lookup and the property going increase, that's a load of crap, and I don't like to hear that kind of.
No, wait,
No, wait, let me tell you something. If we're trying to sell our house, and there's prospective buyers that have to go past that encampment to get to our house, those buyers are gonna go, they don't wanna buy a house right next to a homeless shelter place.
They can be proud.
Pardon?
Or they can be proud of it.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what the statistics would tell you, more would not be.
So what statistics are you quoting?
That's not a fact, though.
I mean, all I'm
Oh,
saying.
we can take a status from the residents that live here right now.
Right. I mean, all I'm saying is that if you look at property value.
I guarantee you, if you're telling me it went up 8%, you're not telling us what it went up on the residents not around it. Maybe it went up
I mean, I don't know
15%
those
or
numbers
10%.
exactly. I'm just saying that there's nothing to indicate that the value goes down because we're around. Maybe there's a possibility that it goes up a little
We
more
can
slowly.
debate values of property.
Let's say a worst case scenario.
No,
but
I'm just
like,
telling you,
if you look at the info.
okay,
I'm sure there's no
who
answer
sent
to
out
that.
this letter? Was this the HomesNOW or is
This is our flyer, yeah.
You guys mailed it out. So you can't tell me that it's the city's process that held everything back. You guys made a conscious decision to mail this out so we would receive it the same day as the meeting.
Well, we didn't mail that brochure out, we mailed.
Oh, I'm sorry, this one. I
Yeah.
got the wrong one.
So
This one here.
So the reason why we mailed that out is because we wanted to let you guys know more information about us, so that it wasn't just like hearsay, so that you could see all those links on the back, so that
This was just delivered today.
We asked for it
You
on
guys
next door.
made a strategic made to make sure that this came at the last minute so people didn't even know
I'm
about it.
not part of them, I'm part of the
Well,
neighbors on
they
next
did.
door. I asked questions and they offered to mail it out so
So
that
we-
they could research beforehand.
I think we've worked that, or pretty well discussed that issue of process.
Well,
whether
it's
theirs or theirs.
ridiculous. It's like this thing started to get
I
snuck
get
through
that.
really quickly without the public knowing about it.
Anybody
That's
else?
what it really looks like.
Do you have another point to make?
There's a lot of things.
Anybody else?
said, my name's Lauren Virginia Herrick. One of the things that I thought about was that every place that you guys have been before has been only 6 months. That doesn't give you a whole lot of time to make this into Unity Village beautiful. If you're here for 2 years, maybe with some plant donations and some landscaping.
It's all in the plan.
Yeah, like we're all about constant improvement. So we think that a year from now we're going to be looking way better than we are now, and then we think a year from that we're going to be looking a lot better. Than the way I describe it is that each year we look back at the previous year and we're like, man, we were a joke back then compared to like where we're at now.
And yet we're really proud of every bit of it.
It's getting late, so I want to make sure everybody's had their chance to say what they want to say.
Anything at all.
Yeah, hi, my name's Monty Thompson. I live on Old Lakeway Drive, a little more than a stone's throw from the camp. And I've been aware of this process for several months, you know, on the internet and around town. And I just want to say that I'm really super excited. When I heard that that site would been picked, I thought that's a perfect place. It's really been an eyesore, more or less, for the last 20 years. And I was worried that an ARCO AM PM would show up. But anyway, that said, I'm really super excited. Thanks so much.
Anybody else? Yes, over here.
My name's Rick Lowe. I've been a resident for 67 years. I grew up on the corner of A and Cornwall, across from Assumption Church. We live up on Erie Street now. We've been there for 27 years from the back side of the park entrance, the trail. And as far as the property values go and stuff, this piece of property on Lakeway used to be a composting spot. It's next to a cemetery. I don't think these tiny homes is going to change that. I mean, but my question is, we all know that homelessness is a problem. We see homeless people walking the streets with their shopping carts, and we always wonder where they go or what are they doing. My question is, we've got these people that are putting their time, to put your effort into it, to remove people from the streets, and to help solve part of the problem, even if it's only 18 people, 20 people. They're spending their time to do it. My question is, why are we trying to stop them? And then we're going to bitch about where all these homeless people that we see on the street. And why isn't somebody doing something? These people are doing something. Just let them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, what is the purpose of the security cameras, and where are they aimed at the street and all around the perimeter, or just inside, or both?
The security cameras are aimed both within the camp and outside the camp, and the reason for it is for the security of the surrounding neighborhood as well as the residents themselves.
So why do you need that security?
It's more of a precaution, really. I mean, things don't come up very often. They come up maybe like 1% or less of the time, but when they do, we're just really glad we have footage of it.
We can always review a camera problem.
What kinds of things are you
Taking food out of the fridge, other people's food.
If there's a physical confrontation, which happens in communities.
Yeah, so one of the concerns that a lot of residents had was, does this somehow increase traffic through our neighborhood by guests or other, maybe the transients who aren't accepting the program? Do they still have any communication or congregate around it? Will there be more people in the woods? It was just a concern that a lot of people had.
Yeah, our experience is not, but we do have more activity from like local neighbors coming to visit, and
a lot of volunteers.
People that are volunteers that work in construction and stuff. You'll get more of those people coming in, but we don't get a lot of like random transients coming in because a lot of our residents don't actually like that crowd and don't hang out with that crowd, so it just doesn't really happen that much.
Because a lot of us don't have security cameras in our houses, and we
Right.
don't want to have to add them.
We're glad to enhance
We're
your
going to have
neighborhood.
more of the people who are part of the problem that people complain about in our city with the drugs and stuff in the woods,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. So.
If I could, just one clarification. There's a condition, you can't just walk up to the gate and get accepted to this program. No one can just come in and say, I want in. So all selections are done off-site. So no one comes and camps out there hoping they can get in. And
Yeah.
that's been it's worked really well to reduce any of the off-site impacts.
I just want to say that my hope is that we can see people as people. And, you know, there are creeps among us all at all walks of of life. It doesn't matter if you're the wealthiest. You know, actually,
Why are you looking at
those
me?
people. If a crime occurs in your neighborhood and there's a tiny village 2 blocks away, don't point your finger there.
Yeah.
They can be completely separate things. So I just hope we can see people as people and not associate crime with people that are suffering.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to briefly say that I really appreciate HomesNOW. I started volunteering with them when they first started out 2.5 years ago about, and for me. And I was living for 12 years in an apartment building in the northwest area of Bellingham. I've been here for 42 years, and I've been an activist, and you know that I was volunteering with them, and my rent went up almost $400, and I've been there 12 years. I was just about to be homeless, but of course, HomesNOW came to my rescue, and the volunteers helped me find a place, helped me move, and I can't say more good things about HomesNOW and Unity Village. And I'm for community, and I love the fact that community happens at Unity Village and at all the 10 communities. And people find their footing, and they get grounded, and they know what to do with their lives, and they're supported. Thank you.
I want to just say, so I don't think anyone here is against HomesNOW. It's a great thing you guys are doing, and we're all in support of it. It's the model that I understand from the past ones have all been in commercial areas, like around the police station, down the one that's now down by the port. This is now you just moved it to a residential area, which is where a lot of the concerns are at, because you don't have a model of that. I understand that.
We're all quite residential.
Well, they're not that close. I mean,
Sunnyland, I think, was.
We
have
a cemetery as one neighbor, right?
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about the cemetery or even
that's one whole
Lakeway,
demographic.
but it's the residents where all the kids are. It's across the street, and we're all concerned about our kids.
I'm not
It's
concerned
our
about the
kids.
toddlers, sir.
Okay, I am.
Not for the.
All right. Okay, but let me. I want to answer that concern, right? So, one thing that that I find funny about that it's not good in a residential area argument is that this is an area where people live. We have a village of 20 people. People live there in houses, and they are residents in their own residency. And so, what makes us guys different for living in a residential area than you living in a residential area? What is the difference between us two living in a residential area?
And there isn't really. But you guys are vetting all of your people that are staying there, which is great. Are you vetting their associates that would visit them, or that now you're monitoring anybody that's inside the compound?
I feel like that question's been
but as
answered
soon as
over
they
and over
leave,
again already.
I can stress concerns.
Sir, I moved into your neighborhood in July. Nobody vetted me. Nobody vetted my friends or my family or my people that come in.
Let me just say, I think we have had this discussion. I appreciate your concerns. I'm gonna let you make the last remark, okay, and then we're gonna close, huh?
Good 80% of what I do, or what we do in our advocacy, is to try to change the conversation on homelessness. Like I said, to be from the war on homelessness to welcome home, which is a big change, and that is important. And what I think that it's important that we understand is that this rehabilitative model is going to bring to enhance your neighborhood. You're going to see real community, laughing, smiling neighbors. And this is, I just want to repeat, this is a chance for us all to take this as a point of civic pride. Yes. And when we do that, we're going to shift everything here together. And I invite you all along on that. Our people will be out there keeping your streets and your paths and your ravines cleaner. Okay, and really proud of it. And I hope that you'll welcome them home too.
So Doug, this is your meeting. Do you have any last comments you want to make?
Before I make any last comments, I want to make sure that everyone's concerns or questions are answered, no matter what they are. Is it okay?
So I'm Joan Wildfield, and I live on Wildflower Way. I bless you, Marcus, and
Doug.
Doug, I keep forgetting your name.
Thank you.
And all of your residents. I believe that you are as valuable as I am, and I don't want you to think that I think you're less than. I don't. I am so happy that you're doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I want to know, though,
We're gonna make you all proud.
I want to know why I wasn't notified earlier. Really, I really want to know that, because I've seen your video on Facebook that's, you're putting the signs up and stuff. It looks like a done deal to me. And that makes me feel bad, because I don't feel like I was considered part of the process.
So Rick, let's make you the last comment.
Thanks. What I can say is I'll make sure we post the map before the mailing is. By the law, we mail on a distance from the property boundary. If you're too far from the site, you won't get notice. That's why we post it, that's why we publish it, that's why we put it online. There've been stories in the paper too. So the word has kind of gotten out there through all the media. But again, you receive notice if you're within that line, that area, that's measured from the edge of the site that's proposed. Some folks go on, people closer on my street have gotten notice, I didn't. It's because you're outside that circle. Right?
So Doug, there's somebody back here who was.
Yeah.
Hello, been a lot of my neighbors from Wildflower. I'm actually from Sweet Bay. My name is Ben. I do have 3 kids. I have no concerns with your residents. Okay, I serve in a volunteer security role. Deal with the homeless a lot. A lot. The ones in great mental health, the ones in lacking mental health. Some of them just having a bad mental health day, I get it. Your residents I have no concern with. My wife and kids, they probably do. Okay? Fear is real. Maybe it's misguided. My concern is not necessarily with crime rates. The chief spoke to that. Although being an engineer by trade, I look at data every day, and the statistical windows are so short that we can't draw any conclusions from it. You're welcome to disagree with me, sir. I don't do law enforcement for a living. I respect those of you who do. My concern ultimately is with the sustainability of the model of moving from city lot to city lot to city lot. And the requirement that our chief of police comes down once a week. Surely you have better things to be doing.
Yeah, and I can address that.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
but that's not a long-term sustainable thing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my concern, and I don't mean this as an insult, is with the management of the program. I'm listening to the rules being explained. I'm a process guy. The rules are very kind of, well, sometimes it's this, and sometimes it's that. And I get it's hard to write black and white rules, but they're feeling incredibly loose. Was the notification great? No, it wasn't. We all, I think, agree on that, whether you're for it or against it, we all agree. I totally respect the city. They have a process they have to follow. Again, I'm an engineer, I follow processes and all that. That's where my concern stems from, is what is the long-term strategy to stop bouncing? Because you guys have to be sick of these meetings.
Yeah, thank you. The main reason why we're bouncing around, right, is for a couple of reasons. Reason one is that the ordinance that allows for what we're doing to even exist at all has a time limit of 2 years maximum. The longest we can be at any site is 2 years. Now, our long-term goal is to fundraise enough to buy our own land so that we can be somewhere longer duration. Now, if you look at how much land costs, especially in this area, I mean, just the land might cost like 5 times more than the whole rest of the project. I mean, for us to build 20 tiny homes and all that was like $100,000. For us to maintain the site month to month is like $1,200 a month. But for us to actually go out of our way and buy land might be like 5 times that amount.
Conversely, it's really expensive to move as well. That's one of our main expenses.
And we'd like to not have to as often, but we're gonna do what's available to us, and that's kind of why that's happening. And
HomesNOW.
But
Doug, you got a question over here?
yeah.
My name is Frank Rivera, and I think this is a great idea, but you said that people close to it are like notified. Some of the houses closest to the thing had no idea about this. When I was helping out pass out flyers just about this with Jeff, and I just have a question about that. Is there like an error or something?
So I'll respond. I'm gonna post the map and I'll post the list, folks. It's generated from the tax rolls. We get it from the assessor. We try to be as accurate as we have. We use 3 methods because just sending cards out don't always get to people. Again, if you're a renter, you don't get the letter. It goes to the property owner wherever they live. But, we try our best to get the message out. It's hard to get the message out all the time.
More back here.
I just wanted to comment too. So I don't know, I'm gonna guess 30–40% of the people that I know that are my neighbors are all renters. So I mean, I didn't get one, but that's kind of what I figured, is that it went to my landlords who don't live in the area. And so, I mean, but kind of finding out about this, it's not like I'm super offended. I mean, it's a lot of people and a lot of stuff. I think we have a forum to be able to discuss our concerns. So I think it's a good thing. It's unfortunate that it has to be like that, but I mean, what can be done?
And also too, we wanted to get out letters to you guys, the one that you got from us. We wanted to get them out to you guys sooner than when we were able to. When we wanted to, we had to figure out a way to rent this space, and it turns out that we needed to get a separate insurance policy to be allowed to rent this space. So that took us a couple more days longer than what we intended, and so we wanted to give you guys at least a week, but it ended up being right to the wire, and I'm sorry for that. I apologize for that.
It has nothing to do with the city. That was the HomesNOW thing, but it was the insurance policy and scheduling this. But he got the Wednesday morning is when.
Yeah, I just did them all at once, and I really got them out a little too late. But I'm sorry about that. But it was intended to be sooner than what it was.
Maybe you'll get more volunteers to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. All of your concerns. Thank you.
And then again, if anybody wants to contact us directly at any time and wants to have a heart-to-heart discussion for as long as you want, just hit us up. It's okay.